Richard, thanks. We're going to meet together to plan a medium-term topic, and I'm going to ask you first if you've had any good ideas that you've considered that would suit. Remember, you're thinking about interdisciplinary learning in this aspect.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure about this. The sort of IDL and the cross-curricular learning and topic planning. I've heard a bit about it in uni in the lectures and things, but I'm really not sure where to go with it. But I think I'm quite creative. I've got some good ideas, and what I've done is I've had a look on some events that are coming up in the next few weeks. So we've got I was looking for sort of like national events, because that would be quite good with book day and things like that. So we've got coming up soon. It's national. It might sound a bit crazy, but I've got some ideas around National Sausage Week's coming up. Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking maybe I could do something around that and link into that. So what do you think?
To that?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Sorry, no. Never.
Okay. So how does that sound? What do you think? I mean, because where we are, I've been in a rural school, and some of the kids in the class I'm teaching are from farming background. That
farming links and.
Yeah.
What else would you think would be appropriate round about the topic of a sausage?
Well, I was thinking that there's a food. So I had a background before I trained to teach was food science, that kind of thing. Food tech was my first degree. So I'm quite keen to do a little bit of that with them in upper school as well. I thought I've got some knowledge.
Okay. So what would you think? Can you enlarge upon the food aspect of that first of all?
So I suppose there's a sort of there's the farm to fork resources, if you know about those, and we could maybe link into that as well, or connect to that as well. I thought we could maybe do a visit. I thought that'd be quite good fun. I've got some of the school contacts, but I know a few people as well.
What visit would you do?
We could either do one of the food processing, one of the factories maybe, or we could go to a farm, or possibly do both. Maybe start at the beginning.
So would that be your technology link?
There could be some technology in there, yeah.
Well, that's a good point there, Peter. Richard, you've clearly got some really good ideas. Sounds quite potential to be quite engaging and motivating.
Okay.
Have you had a think around in terms of where the children are coming from in their learning, and what past experience that and knowledge they're bringing to this, and possibly how that fits with some of our reasonings?
I mean, I was coming from the point of view of the experience that they've got kind of in their wider life. I'm not really sure what
what have they experienced?
What they've experienced, and trying to connect to that so it's kind of fun and it's relevant for that. From the E's and O's point of view, I've not thought about those too much, but from a subject point of view, I thought a bit about the technology. And I was thinking about some of the other curriculum areas as well. So I was wondering, I'm not so good with things like
well, you've got to think broadly, I should say.
Okay.
So I really want you to push yourself for a moment and really consider what could be used in a broader. Now you've mentioned technology, and obviously food, but I mean you've got subjects like, for example, mathematics, science.
Okay.
You've got.
Can I make some notes? I thought what I'd quite like to do is we did this in uni, did a bit of mind mapping around it. Okay. So
sausage.
Okay.
Because I do want you to consider the breadth of the curriculum.
Okay. So I talked about food tech, which I'm quite interested in, and food to
farm to fork.
Farm to fork, yeah. Okay. Some visits maybe. Okay.
What about, is there a moral dimension to this? Because you're not just going to take the farm. But what about people who are vegetarian in the class?
Okay.
How do you feel about the morality of that?
Well, I'm actually vegetarian myself, so I've got. I did bring with me. I've got with me my Linda McCartney vegetarian. I really like these. Have you ever had these?
No.
They're dead tasty. Really good.
Would you have that as a moral aspect, or almost a moral aspect of religious moral education?
Okay. So there's a sort of moral or
philosophical.
Okay.
Because some
ethical, perhaps.
Ethical.
And do you know, in terms of Richard, that within our school, not all our children are from a Christian background. We actually have children of other faiths.
Yeah, it could be offensive for. There's no pork in that thing.
No. These ones are vegetarian. They're not. They do some vegan stuff, but they're not.
Because you could obviously go into them, as Eddie's mentioned, the RME aspects of which faiths could eat certain products.
Okay.
And then from there you could even go into the. What was it? The Indian mutiny, the sepoy, wasn't it?
Okay, I
So
know
you're
much about that.
well,
Right,
that was
okay.
I think where they used
So we're getting into
the
history now.
fat from animals to grease the guns in India, I should say, and that caused a mutiny.
So what's that? That's
I
the...
think it was it called the sepoy
Okay.
problem, and it was a real big issue because the British soldiers didn't understand that for the Hindu soldiers it was an offence to use animal products.
That,
to grease guns.
that's a really good link,
That would
because
take into
I didn't know anything about that, and,
Mhm.
and I wanted to do something. One of my standards I've got to look at is sort of understanding global citizenship and stuff like that, so that'll totally
would
tick
be-
that box, won't it?
that would tie that in very nicely around the sausage.
Okay. Right, what about, you've mentioned maths, and I'm not great with that.
Well,
Have you got any thoughts on that? Either of you give me some
Well, sorry, I was going to say, Richard, you mentioned that you're not great. Now, if you consider your previous experience, and obviously you've come with significant life experience and a previous career, which is of great benefit. I mean, within your food technology degree, I'm sure there were various experiments and investigations that you conducted. So, for example, maybe in terms of the health aspect, conducting simple experiments, looking at
science there.
yeah, so but it's also the mathematical skills to help facilitate scientific experiments. So in terms of calculations, in terms of weighing, figuring out how many calories in a particular amount.
Okay.
Very relevant.
Okay, so, all right, so that's...
Could you experiment with, in that, the concept of science and the concept of experimentation it doesn't really matter what you're experimenting with, but there's a procedure, so you could do food tasting around about sausage, couldn't you?
Oh, we used to do that. So one of the things we would do when we worked in quality assurance is you'd do sort of blind taste tests on different things, and you would do consumer research and stuff like that. So I could do some data handling, I could do some graphs and
that
things
would
like
be
that.
the natural consequence of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so in your maths, so you're talking about what?
Yeah, well, it sort of covers
weighing,
both, doesn't it?
Measuring,
Yeah.
well, of course it's not I'm presuming you're using sausages that are not straight, as it were.
Oh,
They're curved.
so I taste test, didn't I? And I could do some graphs of that. Okay.
Could you do something about
What did you
circumference?
say? You said, oh,
Well,
shapes.
Shape.
Sausage shape, yeah.
Because you do
'Cause
get,
you do, don't you?
different. You get in Scotland it's
Yeah.
square sausage.
And you'll know, Richard, that although our school haven't been part of the recent pupil protests, there have been schools across Scotland who have been making a stand, and in terms of the environmental context that we find ourselves in, and actually some of our students come from arable farms, and some
Okay.
come from beef and pork farms. So there's a question in terms of carbon footprint and what that
Good
looks
miles.
like, and I mean our traditional and I mean in terms of history, we've looked at how in the past the history of our farms has changed, and we're much more mechanised, and actually the production has increased vastly over some farms, so the impact upon our environment as a result of that.
Okay.
Go back to the shape a second and the maths. I think that's great, Eddie, because you're talking about food miles and you've what we're saying is a primary 7.
Yeah.
So you can really calculate the food miles from there and the calorific value and so on. But
Okay.
I think they could be a bit shaky on, for example, at that stage they would be maybe doing the circumference calculations around circumference.
Okay.
And by taking different sausages of different types, you could cut them apart and calculate
Well, we
circumference.
do fractions of sausages.
Well, that's an obvious one as well, because
Yeah.
in fact I was reading a paper this morning all about fractions, so I think that would be very relevant.
Okay.
That would be concrete material.
Yes. Right. Okay. Yeah, because I was
But-
reading
but-
about
but
using
I must
concrete
say, if you're going to do that, Richard, you'd need to, if children are going to be handling sausages with their bare hands,
Yeah. I've got
you
plenty
need
of
to
maths,
have
that's enough for me.
hygiene.
Okay.
It's critical.
Okay. So we've just got hygiene, I suppose. So I
Actually,
can put
well, that comes into health and well-being, doesn't it?
Okay. I'm missing language here and literacy, aren't I? What do you think about...
I know a song about sausage.
Oh.
We'll sing it to you.
So, well, that's
quite good.
Is that music would be
Well, no,
expressive
it
arts?
could, no, but I was thinking from when you hear the song, you'll understand what I mean,
Okay.
because it does come to literacy.
Okay. Go on
It's because it's in a Scottish context.
then. Okay. Go on.
It's a bit embarrassing. Anyway, Eddie, you won't question my singing, will you? I love a sausage, a cooperative sausage. You can tell a Coopy sausage by its smell. If you fright be an ingin, you hear the sausage singing, Mary, my Scots blue bell. Now, although I'm having fun with the Scots song, it's introducing the Scots language round about the topic of the sausage.
Mm-hmm. What's that called? I really like that.
I love a sausage, actually, it's called. But it's a theme on another Scots song. I think it's I Love a Laddie. But then I would bring into that the gender issues. Because Mary, my Scots blue bell.
Yeah.
But why should it be Mary?
Yeah.
Because you've got diversity.
Of course. Because everybody loves a sausage.
Okay. Well,
you're
presuming everyone loves a sausage.
I would think, one of the things that you can do, Richard, you're saying you haven't got anything for language.
Yeah.
Can I ask you just to revisit some of the areas that you've already looked at? Okay. So in terms of, for example, science, now I'm assuming you'd be asking the children to report back and to think about what that would look like. Yeah. So you've got some very key skills to ensure that the children are either building upon or revisiting or teaching fresh around report writing. I think
and literacy.
And yeah, absolutely. And I think also, we could have a discussion about the moral and the ethics and in terms of, Peter, you'd mentioned there about history. Now, I think one of the things that comes through there. Well, Rich, can you tell me, what do you think is going to come through when you start discussing this with the children? What type of skill will they require?
I don't know really. I'm just trying to do something that's a bit sort of fun and engaging. What do you mean by that?
Well, I suppose for me, if I ever think and I'm sitting down and planning a fairly comprehensive topic, I try and unpick each. So once and we've got a considerable amount here, but I would revisit again and try and unpick, well, what do the children need to have, what do they need to be able to do to fully engage in this particular aspect. So if we think about the moral and ethical side of things, to me, that we need to ensure that our children have an ability to discuss in a reasoned manner, to listen, and to be aware of their audience, and to be able to debate, and I think really importantly, to be able to articulate and explain their own views and their own opinions in a really sensitive manner. So, while you maybe haven't got anything specifically in a language bubble there, if you revisit it, you've probably got quite a bit of language coming through.
Could you do a debate maybe around about ethics of farming or ethics of sausage production or something?
Okay, that's got loads there for me to go on. So I suppose now what I just need to do is go away and just think of some activities.
You haven't really thought about any art, for example.
Yeah, I've got the music in there. Oh, with Miss P. Yeah. Have you got thoughts for that?
Sausage. Well, I can think of an art one, because traditionally you do potato prints.
Yeah.
But there's no reason why you shouldn't do sausage prints.
Can I ask, Peter, have you and Richard had a discussion yet around the time frame of this particular planning period?
Richard, how long would you think as a student this is going to take you?
I don't know, maybe a week for this, do you think? Or
maybe I would extend it a bit beyond that, Richard.
2 weeks maybe? Or
thinking in terms, what would you think, Eddie, yourself?
Well, I think whenever it comes to looking at IDL, we need to be really careful, and Peter, as an experienced teacher, you'll be aware of this, but so Richard, I suppose it's for you to think, what is it that I'm actually going to drill down and to be looking at with the children? What is the learning? What are the little steps that I need to build up to allow them to fully engage? And at that point, that's when you will start to make more of a better assumption, I suppose, initially, of how long it's going to take you. So, for example, if we revisit the moral and ethical discussion, there'll be an element of teaching and learning around what the moral and the ethics are, and then there'll be an element of ensuring that the children have the particular skills ready to engage in the debate, and then a debate or a discussion itself, and to assess that. So actually, when you start to really unpick, you're probably looking at a number of lessons.
Okay, that's really good.
It's quite a complex planning structure, really.
Okay, so I'll go away look at that. I've just
had
a quick
say music. We've touched a wee music and song.
I think so. I just had a quick thought.
PE was the one.
Just had a quick thought. I used to love my sports days, egg and spoon race. Egg, sausage and spoon.
Oh, why not?
Why not? Okay.
You could do variations. I mean, if it was a younger class, instead of using unifix groups.
Do you think
It
we
should be using sections as well.
Can I ask a question? Now that you've, we've had a really useful discussion, and I think, as I said initially, some fantastic ideas. Are there any sort of tenuous links in there, or anything that you think possibly maybe need to?
There might be. Perhaps I should go away and think a little bit.
I think so. Yeah.
You mean where I've perhaps maybe pushed it a bit too far?
Slightly, because that's always a danger when we look at IDL learning.
Okay.
And also sometimes it's about when we start to become a little bit more specific in our plans. Maybe we have to make a decision about things to leave out, or perhaps additional things to include. And also, what we need to make sure that we leave room for the children to identify areas that perhaps they might want to engage in a little bit further, or their learning is going to maybe direct where you're going to go. So be mindful of not to create too much of a packed plan that restrict you in the end.
I suppose one of the issues we didn't touch on was prior learning.
Yeah.
And I suppose we should have touched that in the beginning to
Maybe
see what they knew about the sausage, and we didn't. We forgot to do that actually.
Okay.
Well, I think we that in terms of children's and in the past with Peter, you'll have used various grids. What we know, what we want to know, and so on. And you've already, and I think it's to your credit that you've been able to recognise that the school is within a particular community and it has various unique aspects. It's perhaps then, just as you rightly suggest, Peter, delving that wee bit deeper into what that says, and actually thinking about our curriculum within the school and the uniqueness of it.
Is it relevant? I suppose.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's an element of relevance in the curriculum. I just wonder if
Okay.
I suppose it is relevant because it's everyone eats a sausage at some point.
Okay, right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you supporting us and
Thank you.
advice and ideas as well.
Then
I'll catch up with you a little bit later when I've drawn it together in a bit more detail. Thank you.